Long before the courtroom battles and global headlines, Johnny Depp was one of Hollywood's most beloved and enigmatic actors. From his breakout in 21 Jump Street to box office smashes like Pirates of the Caribbean and Edward Scissorhands, Depp built a career on playing outsiders. Charming, troubled, unforgettable. But behind the characters was a man fighting inner demons, addiction, anxiety, and a storm of personal battles that the public rarely saw. Amber Heard began her rise in Hollywood with small roles in indie films before breaking out in big-budget movies like The Rum Diary, where she met Johnny Depp. Known for her beauty and strong on-screen presence, Heard seemed poised to become the next Hollywood it girl. But her career trajectory would soon become entangled with Depp's in a way no one could predict. T was 2009 on the set of The Rum Diary when Johnny and Amber first met. Their chemistry was undeniable. At the time, Johnny was still in a long-term relationship with Vanessa Paradis, with whom he shared 2 children. But sparks flew, and by 2012, the rumors became real. Depp and Paradis split, and Amber stepped into the spotlight beside Johnny. In 2014, the engagement was official. By 2015, they were married. Private islands, lavish parties, and red carpet events followed. But beneath the surface, whispers of control, jealousy, and volatility were beginning to stir. The fairy tale was already cracking. In May 2016, Amber filed for divorce and requested a restraining order against Depp, claiming he was abusive. The public reaction was divided. Photos of Amber's bruised face went viral. Depp denied everything. Hollywood was forced to take sides, and the war had just begun. Almost overnight, Johnny's image took a hit. He was dropped from major projects, attacked in headlines, and branded a domestic abuser. But some fans weren't convinced. They demanded evidence. They asked questions, and slowly cracks began to form in Amber's narrative. In 2018, Amber penned an op-ed for the Washington Post, claiming to be a survivor of domestic abuse. She didn't mention Depp by name, but the implications were clear. Johnny fought back, filing a $50 million defamation lawsuit. Now the world wasn't just watching, it was choosing sides. In 2020, shocking audio recordings leaked. Amber could be heard admitting to hitting Johnny and taunting him about how no one would believe him. The public tide turned rapidly. Hashtags like #Justice for Johnny Depp trended. For many, it was the moment Amber's story started to unravel. Before the U.S. trial, Johnny took the Sun newspaper to court in the UK after they called him a wife-beater. He lost that case, but not the war. The real battle was brewing in Virginia, where Depp versus Heard would become a televised spectacle unlike anything Hollywood had ever seen. In April 2022, the Depp versus Heard defamation trial began in Fairfax, Virginia, and the world couldn't look away. Live streamed for millions, it was more than a trial. It was reality TV, celebrity scandal, and social media theater all in one. Every tear, smirk, and objection was clipped and shared, dissected frame by frame. Johnny Depp was the first to testify. Calm, collected, and emotional, he described a life of trauma and abuse. Not just from Amber, but from his own childhood. He denied all allegations of violence and painted Amber as the aggressor. As he recounted shocking details, like the infamous severed finger incident, the courtroom leaned in. So did the world. When Amber Heard took the stand, she portrayed herself as a terrified woman living in constant fear. She sobbed, trembled, and described graphic instances of alleged abuse. But the internet wasn't convinced. Her performance was dissected in real time. Her expressions turned into memes, her testimony questioned frame by frame. One of the trial's most talked about moments was Depp's recounting of the Australia fight, where he claimed Amber threw a vodka bottle that severed the tip of his finger. Photos, texts, and conflicting testimonies added fuel to the confusion. The courtroom became a battlefield of he said, she said, but Depp's scars, both physical and emotional, told their own story. Amber's team claimed she used a specific concealer palette every day to cover bruises, but the makeup brand called them out, revealing that the palette wasn't even released at the time. Social media exploded, accusing Amber of staging evidence. It was a blow to her credibility that rippled far beyond the courtroom. Yes, it really happened. Depp testified that after a fight, he returned home to find feces in the bed. Amber blamed the dogs. Johnny called it a fitting end to the relationship. The courtroom stifled laughter, the internet exploded, and suddenly a defamation trial became a bizarre circus. Johnny's lawyer, Camille Vasquez, became an overnight icon. Sharp, poised, and relentless, she grilled Amber on the stand with surgical precision. Her cross-examination went viral. Clips of her intense stare-downs and clever comebacks were turned into fan edits. Camille wasn't just defending Johnny, she was winning over the public. Amber's credibility was repeatedly challenged, and one of the most damning moments came when older audio recordings were replayed in court. "Tell them I hit you," she was heard saying. For Johnny's supporters, it was the smoking gun. For Amber's team, it was damage control. Both sides brought in experts: psychologists, doctors, security guards, housekeepers. Depp's psychologist diagnosed Amber with personality disorders. Amber's team called Depp a narcissist and a manipulator. But many viewers noticed Heard's witnesses seemed less convincing, more rehearsed. In the court of public opinion, Depp was gaining ground. This wasn't just fought in court. It was fought online. Millions tuned into live streams, posted TikToks, created memes. Amber became a villain in trending hashtags while Johnny was reborn as a victim. But critics warned, was social media turning a complex abuse case into entertainment? As the trial neared its end, emotions ran high. Both sides made their final pleas to the jury. Depp's team focused on logic, evidence, and recordings. Amber's team leaned on emotion, but by then, many believed the verdict was already written, not just in court documents, but in the court of public opinion. The trial had become a global event. Live streams broke records, TikTokers wore Team Johnny shirts, and fans camped outside the courthouse. As the jury deliberated, the world held its breath. Who would win? And what would justice even look like in a trial that had already played out on every screen? On June 1st, 2022, the verdict dropped like a bomb. The jury found Amber Heard liable for defamation. She was ordered to pay $10 million in damages. Johnny was awarded $2 million for one of his claims. But to his fans, it didn't matter. He had won his name back. Amber Heard issued a statement almost immediately. She said she was heartbroken and felt like women had been set back. Critics called her tone defiant. Supporters praised her bravery. But the damage to her reputation was undeniable. The internet had turned against her. Hard. While Amber mourned, Johnny celebrated. He joined Jeff Beck on stage in the UK. He smiled in pubs, posed for photos, and posted a handwritten letter on Instagram thanking fans. After years of silence, Johnny Depp was back, not just in headlines, but in hearts. TikTok became a courtroom of its own. Hashtags like #Justice for Johnny Depp racked up billions of views. Influencers reenacted court scenes. Comedians mocked Amber, and lawyers became content creators overnight. But as the memes grew, critics asked, did this trial turn trauma into entertainment? Amber's screen time in Aquaman 2 was reportedly slashed. She lost brand deals. Meanwhile, Depp, once blacklisted, was in talks for major projects again. The verdict reshaped careers, but the question remained, would the industry fully embrace Johnny again? Or was this a temporary win? Amber didn't stay silent. She sat down with NBC's Savannah Guthrie and defended her side. She called the trial unfair and said social media skewed the truth. But the interview backfired. Edited clips spread like wildfire, and viewers accused her of lying again. In December 2022, Heard and Depp reached a legal settlement. Amber agreed to pay $1 million, a fraction of the original amount. Depp's team said it was never about money. For Amber, it was the end of a nightmare. For Johnny, it was the final chapter in a 6-year saga. Today, Johnny Depp tours with his band and stars in European films. Amber Heard moved to Spain with her daughter, avoiding the U.S. spotlight. They've both moved on, and at least publicly. But the trial still lingers, a cultural flashpoint that changed how we view celebrity, abuse, and truth itself. This wasn't just a celebrity trial. It was a global obsession. It redefined cancel culture, flipped narratives on abuse, and blurred the line between justice and entertainment. Whether you believe Johnny or Amber, this trial left a mark. and it's a story we'll be unpacking for years. Johnny Depp wasted no time returning to the spotlight. After years away from major projects, he landed the role of King Louis XV in the French film Jean du Barry. Premiering at Cannes 2023, the film received a 7-minute standing ovation. Europe embraced him, a far cry from the Hollywood that once turned its back. After the trial, Amber Heard went dark. She sold her home in California and quietly moved to Spain with her daughter. Public appearances stopped. Her Instagram went inactive. It wasn't just privacy, it was survival. Amber had gone from A-list to exile in less than a year. Even after the courtroom emptied, the trial lived on. In memes, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, all flooded with parodies, edits, and commentary. Johnny was portrayed as a martyr, Amber as the villain. But critics began questioning, had justice turned into a content goldmine? Legal analysts became unexpected stars. YouTubers like Legal Bites, Emily D. Baker, and others gained hundreds of thousands of subscribers by streaming the trial. Viewers tuned in daily like it was a Netflix series. LawTube wasn't just explaining the law, they were shaping opinion. Amber hired a crisis PR firm to reshape the narrative, but every move backfired. Her NBC interview drew criticism. Op-eds supporting her were met with backlash. The internet had made up its mind, and no amount of spin could change it. Depp, meanwhile, was glowing. He toured with Jeff Beck, was honored at film festivals, and started painting portraits of celebrities. Social media praised his every move. It was a full-circle moment. Johnny Depp had reclaimed not only his career, but his image. The trial sparked a fierce debate within feminist circles. Was this a win for male victims of abuse, or a public silencing of women who speak out? Some saw Amber as a flawed victim. Others called the verdict a step backward. For many, the case was anything but simple. Even after the main trial, lawsuits lingered. Depp sued the ACLU to reveal who wrote the op-ed. Amber's insurance companies battled over who would pay her damages. The legal aftermath wasn't finished. It just moved behind closed doors. Years later, the dust is still settling. Polls show most people sided with Depp, but the conversation continues. Was this justice or trial by internet? One thing is clear. Both Johnny and Amber will forever be tied to this cultural turning point. This trial wasn't just about defamation. It was about power, narrative, and truth in the digital age. It taught us how fast opinions can be formed and how justice can be shaped by likes, shares, and viral edits. The Johnny vs. Amber case will echo long after the final gavel dropped.